Hello everyone, we have to discuss about that. Prelims IAS forum करंट अफेयर्स क्यूज कंप्लीशंस देख लेते हैं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 1, UPSC CSC प्रिपरेशन. With reference to the sarnas and religion, consider the following statement. B. Both 2 and 3. They do not and practices an idol the worships and nor do they the adheres and to the aspect to concept of the varna systems and the followers are the largely and concentrated and to the tributes and belt the status. कौन है वो? ओडिशा, झारखंड, बिहार, वेस्ट बंगाल एंड असम. एक्सप्लेनेशन देख लेते हैं. एंड द सरना फेथ एंड डज नॉट द जनरली एंड एडवोकेटेड एंड द सुपीरियरिटीज एंड ऑफ द ह्यूमन ओवर्स एंड अदर्स द फॉर्म्स ऑफ द लाइफ. But instead and the emphasized and the harmonies and balance and with the natures. And statement second and third are the Sharna followers and do not the practicals and the ideals and worships and nor do they the adheres and to the concept and of the varna systems and they are the natures and the worshippers and the followers are the largely and concentrated and in the tribals and the wealth and state of the Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, West Bengal and Assam. Question number second. With reference to the protections of the children and from the sexual offense and POSCO Act and the consider the following statement. A. Only one. The act and the provided and for the mandatory reporting of the children's sexual abuse and cased by any the persons and who has the knowledge and or the religion to believe and that such as the offense has been the committed. Explanation. The POSCO Act provided and for the mandatory reporting of child sexual abuse cases and by any the person and who has knowledge or the reason to believe and that such and the offences has been committed. Statement second. And the act is the comprehensively legal framework and that is the designated to protect the children from the sexual abuse and regardless of the whether the person the perpetrators and is other strangers other family members or in the acquaintances. Question number 3. With reference to the intelligence and grievances monitoring system IGMS and 2.0 consider the following statement. B. 2 only. It has been the developed and by the Department of the Administrative Reforms and the Public Grievances and the DARPG and is the collaborations and with the IIT Kanpur. Select the correct answer and from the quotes giving below. B. 2 only. It has been the developed by the Department of the Administration Reform and Public Grievances and DARPG is collaboration with the IIT Kanpur. Explanations. And IGMS and 2.0 is and the artificial intelligence and the driven grievances and monitoring system ITMs aims and to the enhances the efficiency of the public grievances and the redressals and process. Statement second is the correct and the portals and has been the developed and by the Department of the Administration, Traitors and Reforms and the Public and the Grievances and the DARPG in the collaborations and with the IIT Kanpur. With reference to the India and Renewable Energy and Development Agency LTD and IREDA, consider the following statement. B. Only 2. It is provided and the turn and loans and for the acquisitions and of the renewables energies and assets and for the expansions and the modernizations and of the exciting renewables energy and the energy efficiency project. B. 2 only. IDERAs is the public sectors and the financial institution, and they're the provided financial assistance and for the renewable energy and the energy efficiency projected, and it is not other regulatories and bodies. Statement second is correct, and it is provided terms and the loan and for the acquisitions and of the renewables energies and asset and for the expansions and the modernizations of existing and the renewables energy and the energy efficiency project. Question number 5. With reference to the Toto and language, consider the following statement. Toto language. None. It is in the Indo-Aryans and language. No. It is the written in the Latin script. No. It is the Vedas and the recognized international language. No. Explanation are incorrect. Toto is other Sino-Tibetans and language and spoken by the Toto peoples and सुबह 7 8 10
8 बजे
हाँ
8 के बाद 9 10 बजे तक आपण सांगायचं
हाँ काय
मग त्याचे स्कूल नाही
हाँ
8 बजे चला किती वाजता पडेगा 2 घंटे
It is written
8 दिवस पार्टी आणि केक आणि मोर ना बस थोड़ा ऊपर जिम पार्टी नहीं दोगी देखो पैसा मिला
It is written in the Bengalis and काय की पार्टी यही घर है केक काटेंगे और का पार्टी थोड़ी दे रहा है सो केक काटे वो केक काट लो काय को पार्टी है इट इज रिटन इन द बंगाली
ऐसे का बोलते हैं ना वे की हम फोटो मोटो लगवा रहा है तुम समझे अपने अपने एक और मोड़ा अपने ठीक है कि देखिए खत्म तू झाड़ तू बैठो दुकान में बढ़ेगा
Toto is not the internationalist and the recognized as other widely and spoken or the influential language, and with reference to the small and the financial bank and SFBS, and consider the following statement and A. First and second, thus are the specialized and bank and that the focus on the providing basic banking and services to small the business and low the income and individuals and micro and the small enterprises and other the marginalized group. SFBS are required and to the allocated a the specifics and the portions of their the lending and to the properties and sectors. Statement first and second are the correct, and the SFBS and are the specialized and bank and that the focus on the providing basic or the basic banking services and to small business and low the income individuals and the micro and the small enterprises and other the micro marginalized and the groups and SFBS and are the required and to the allocate and the specific portions and of their the leadings to priorities and sectors the including the agriculture and micro and the small enterprises and MSES and the other sectors and that the contributed into the economic development. And statement third is incorrect. SFBS are the focused on the providings and the basic banking services to underserved and the unbanked and the segment of the populations, and they are not the authorized and to the offer investment and banking the services or stock trading. क्या कर रहा हो पागल हो गया हो का बे अभी अलमम Which of the following is the objectives of the operation at the Samudra Guptas and launched by the government? Rock. To combat maritime and the drug and the trafficking from the Afghanistan. B. Government has launched the operation and Samudra Guptas and to the combat maritime trafficking from Afghanistan. Consider the following statement and C. Both 1 and 2, India and the spend a lot of the money on the fighting terrorism and the crime because the countries and is the facing other growing numbers of the security threat and cannabis and is the prevalent and drugs the consumer in India. India spend a lot of the money on the fighting and terrorism and the crime because the countries is facing other growings and the numbers of the security threat as per the reports, and cannabis as the prevented and drugs in the Indias and along with the synthetics and drug and the heroines and surpassing the global averages. 9. with reference to the flaxes and fuels and consider the following statement. It is other mixture of the gasoline and the either methanol or the ethanol, and it is other renewable fuels. Flex fuel is other mixture of the gasoline and the either methanol or the ethanol. Flex fuel is considered other renewable fuel. Flex and the fuel is considered is the renewables and the fuel ethanols, and which is other primary and the component of the flax and fuels is other renewable fuels and made from the corn and other the plant material. And statement third, flax and the fuel vehicles and typically and get the favors and miles and per the gasoline and then the gasolines and vehicles, and this is the because and ethanols the main component of the flex fuel has other lower energy content then the gasoline, and this means and that other flex and fuels vehicles and need to the use and more the fuels to traverse the same distance and as other gasoline vehicles. Consider the following statement. A situations, see both 1 and 2. Correct code given below are the situation of the government and shutdowns and is the unlikely in India, and since the fund are the allocated and to all the government and department and at the start of the financials and years and during the announcement of the union budget and if the government and shutdowns and is not the possibles and in India as the country and flow the primarily and system as the opposed and to the US presidential and system of the governance and which is the separated and from the Congress legislatures. Select the correct answer and quote the giving below. Explanations both 1 and 2. And a situations and of the government shutdown is the unlikely in India, and since the fund are the allocated and to the all the governments and departments at the start of the financial years and during the announcement of the union budget the government shutdowns is not the possible in India and as the countries and follow other parliamentary and systems as the opposed and to the US presidential and systems of the governance and the which is the separated and from the Congress and legislatures. अक्टूबर 2023 with reference to the project and the Udbhav consider the following statement. Only one. Its goal is to the understood and the profound and depth of the indigenous and the military and system and their the evolution and strategies and that have been and passed from the down and through the ages and the integrated and that the age old the wisdoms and with the moderns and military pedagogy. It is and the initiatives and by the Indian Army. एक्सप्लेनेशन देख लेते हैं. प्रोजेक्ट उद्भव एंड गोल इज टू बी द अंडरस्टूड एंड द प्रोफाउंडेड एंड द डेप्थ ऑफ द इंडिजीनियस एंड मिलिट्री सिस्टम एंड देयर द एवोल्यूशन एंड स्ट्रेटेजीज एंड दैट हैव बीन द पास्ड एंड डाउन्स एंड थ्रू द एजेस एंड द इंटीग्रेट्स एंड देयर द एजेस एंड ओल्ड द विजडम्स एंड विद द मॉडर्न मिलिट्री pedagogy. Statement second is correct. The main objectives of the project Udbhav and are to be the rediscovers and the integrates and the strategic heritage and into the modern defense and focusing on the studies and the understandings and ancient India text on the statecraft and the warfares and the diplomacy and the grand strategy. Consider the following statements. Only one. India tent is turtle nears the threatened. The IUCN and the status of the Indian tent and the turtle is list the concern and Indian the flip cell and the turtle is the one rivals and browns the roofed and the turtles is near the threatened and only the 3 is correctly matched. Question number 3. With reference to the insolvency and the bankruptcy and board of India and IBBI and the consider the following statement. A. Only one. It is a statutory body and the established and under the insolvency and the bankruptcy code of the 2016 and IBC. The Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Board of India and IBBIN, it is a statutory body and established in October 2016 under the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code 2016 and IBC. And while the IBBIN does provide and the regulatory and the oversights and set the guidelines for the insolvency and professionals and the processes, and it does not directly and oversees the day. Today, the functionings of the NCLT and the DRT and the IBBIN is the primarily and responsible for the overseeing and the regulatings and the resolutions of insolvencies in the corporate sectors, including and the companies and the individuals, and it does not and have the indirect and responsibilities and for the resolutions of the NBFCs and or the insolvencies in the real estate sectors. Question number 4. With reference to the Puneet and Sagars and the Abhiyan, and consider the following statement. Only two, and the composition and will help in the educating and the local and the sanitizing and them about the Swachh Bharat. And Puneet and Sagar Abhiyan is other nationwide and the composition initiative and by the nation cadets and crops NCC in India's and to the clean and the conserve and water resources and statement second is correct. The composition is in the line and with the visions of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyans and Clean India missions and aims to the raise an awareness about the importance of the water conservation and the need and to the keep water bodies and keep clean and the free from pollution. Question number 5. With reference to the Samudra and the Prahari, the bases of the India Coast Guard, and consider the following statement. C. 1 and 3, and it is the equipped and with the advancement and pollutions and control and the monitoring system and including the oil and the recovery and equipment and dispersant and the spray and system and other laboratories and for the analyzing and water and air the samples, and it has been the developed and on the overseas and mission and to the demonstrated in India the commitment to addressing and pollutions and threat and to the strengthen and cooperation with others the countries in the ASEAN region. Explanation and Samudra Prahari. Samudra Prahari vessel is the equipped and with the advanced and the pollution control and the monitoring system and including oil the recoveries equipment and the dispersant and the spray and systems and other laboratory and for the analyzing and water and the air samples. It has been the deployed and on the overseas and missions and to the demonstrated in India's the commitment into the addressing pollution and threat and to the strength and cooperation with others the countries in the ASEAN region. Samudra Prahari is the designed and to the address and pollutions threat, and it is not and the equipped and with the advanced fishing capabilities. Question number 6. With reference and to the cross countries and bike the expeditions and the Yashashvini, and consider the following statement. See both 1 and 2. It was the organized and by the Central Reserve Police Force and CRPF and in the collaboration and with the Ministry of the Women's and the Child Development. The expeditions and is the aims and aid the celebrating the powers and the resiliences of the women and to the inspires and you are the young girl and the women to the pursues their the dream and the aspirations. Both 1 and 2 is correct, and explanation देख लेते हैं. यशस्विनी and was the organized and by the Central Reserve Police and Force and the CRPF in the collaboration and with the military of the women's and the child development, and the expeditions is aims and aid the celebrating the powers and the resiliences of women and to the inspire the young girls and the women and to the pursue their the dream and the aspirations.
अरे मैं छला नहीं रहा हूँ तो आप फोन ना हो तो
With reference to the R21 and the metric M the vaccine, and consider the following statement. Be only 2. The vaccine contain R21 and the antigens and the developed by the University of the Oxford and is specific to the malarias and the parasites. And the Novavax and the Matrix M is the saponin and the waste and the adjuvanted and that the enhances the immune response and making it and the award and the more durable. Explanation first and second. R21 and the Matrix and the M vaccine is other new and the vaccine and recommended and by the World Health Organization WHO and for the preventions of the malaria in children and the vaccine and the contents and R21 and the antigen developed and by the University of the Oxford and the specifics and to the malarias and parasites and the Novavax and the Matrix M is the exponents and waste the adjuvant and that the enhances and the immunes and the response and making it is the borders and more the durable. Statement third is incorrect and the vaccine is not the administered and orally and but the rather through intramusculars and the injections. With reference to the mRNA and vaccine, consider the following statement. A. Statement first is correct both A and the mRNA and vaccine does not the expose an individuals and to the virus and itself and the unlike the traditionals and the vaccine and with the content and the weakened and or the inactivated and comes and are mRNA and vaccine and work by the introducing other piece of the mRNA that the correspond to the virals and proteins. Which one of the following statement is correct and first and second is correct? Like other the vaccines and the mRNA and the vaccine and also the attempt to the activated the immune systems and to the produce antibiotics and that the help and counter and the infections and from other believe and the leave and the virus and however and whilst the most and the vaccines and use the weekend and or the dead bacteria or viruses to evoke other responsibles and from the immune systems and mRNA and vaccines and only the introduce other piece of the genetics materials and there the correspondence and to the vitals proteins and this is the usually the protein found on the membranes and of the virus and called spike and the proteins and therefore the RNA vaccine and does not the expose individuals and to the virus itself. Question number 9 and with reference to the economically populism consider the following statement. A. Only one. Economic populism and often the emphasis and the benefits of the more and public spending or the lower taxes and which can the lead to the redistributions and of the wealth and from the rich and to the poor. Statement. Economic populism and the often and emphasis the benefits of the more publics and spendings or the lower taxes which can the lead to other redistribution of the wealth and from the rich and to the poor and the economic populism and is other complex ideology and that can be the motivated and by other variety on of factor and including the economic inequalities and cultural and social and grievances and while the economics and inequality is other major concern and for many economic populist and it is not the only factors and that the drive and there the support and economic populism may also be the motivated and by the concern about the immigrations and trade crimes or the national identity. With reference to the cognitives and the welfares and consider the following statement. It is the form of the welfares and that the focus on the human mind is the battlefield and the aims and to change and not only and what the pupils and things and but also how they the think and the act and cognitives and welfares is only the effective and against the uneducated or the vulnerables and pollutions. Only one is correct. Cognitive welfare and is other forms of the welfare and that the focus is on the human minds as the battlefield and the aimings and to the change and not only in the what people think and but also the how and they think and the act. Cognitive and welfare and is not the only effective against and the uneducated or the vulnerable population and but it can the targeted and individuals and the groups and cross various educational and backgrounds and level of the vulnerabilities and the effectiveness of the cognitives and warfare and lies in its the ability and to the manipulates and the human cognize and which is the universals and the characteristics. With reference to Project the Mariana and consider the following statement. Only one. It is either joint and the initiatives and of the Bank for the Internationals and the Statements and BIS and Innovations and Hub and the Central Bank of France and the Singapore and the Switzerland and to the explores the potentials of the using central bank, digital and the currencies and the CB. DCS and for the cross borders payment. Project Mariana is the joint initiative of the Banker for the International Settlement and BIS Innovations and Hub and the Central Bank of France, Singapore and Switzerland to explore the potentials of using the central bank and digital currencies and CBDS, DCS and for the cross-border payment. Statement second, Project Marianas and will not use other single CBDC and for all the cross-borders and the payment and instead and it will allow for the use of the multiples and CBDC and which will be the exchanged and for each the others and using the automated and the market makers AMMS. Question number second, with reference to the United Nations and the conventions against the transnationals and organized and the crime UNTOC and consider the following statement. Only two. The convention is the first and the comprehensive and the global legally and bindings instruments and to the find transnationals and organization crime. Project Mariana is other joint crime. UN2 is now known as the Palermo Convention since it is the adopted in the Palermo and in the Italy and the convention is the first and the comprehensively and the global legally and the bindings bonding instrument and to the fight and the transnationals and organizations crimes and CBI is the nodal agency and for all the dealings and with the UNTOS. With reference to the scholarship and for the higher education and for the youth achievers and schemes and the Shreyas consider the following statement A only. Ministry of the Socials and the Justice and the Empowerment is the nodal ministry and for the implementings and the schemes is only the available and to the student and who are the pursuing and technical courses. One only, and Ministry of the Social Justice and the Empowerment is the nodal military or the implementing and the schemes and the Shreyas and is available to the all students and who are the pursuing either post graduated and degree courses from a recognized university or institution and the regardless and of the field of study. With reference to the olive and the ridley and turtles and consider the following statement. See, first and third, they are the carnivorous and feed mainly on the jellyfish and the shrimps and snakes and crabs and the molluscs and the variety of fish and their eggs. They are the found in the warmth and water of the Pacific, Atlantic and Indian Ocean. Olive and Ridley and the turtles and are the carnivores and the feed and the mainly on the jellyfish and the shrimps and the snails and crabs the mollusks and is the delivery of the food and other sex and they are the found in the worms. Waters of the Pacific, Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. Olive Ridley and the turtles and are the smallest and the most and the abundant of all the sea and turtle found in the world. Consider the following statement B. 2. Only an atom is the composition of the nucleus of the protons and the neutrons and the electrons and that the travel around this nucleus. Explanation and the attosecond and is other short unit of the time and eventually equivalent and to the 1 and the quantity lithians and of other second and or the 10 and to the powers and of the 18 seconds and it is about the same amount of the time and it is takes and light to the travels across the single atoms and in the atoms and is other teeny units and into the which and matter can be divided. Atom is the composition of the nucleus of the protons and the neutrons and electrons and there the travels and around and this the nucleus and electron and move so fast and that it is the impossible and to the observe and them in the real times. Exercise Sampriti and is other joint and the military exercise between India and the Bangladesh. Exercise Sampriti is an annual joint military exercise between the India and the Bangladesh. The exercise and was started in 2009 and it is other organized and the alternatively and by the both countries. By the both countries and it is aims and to the share the tacticals and the units tactical drill and the promotes test the practices in the carrying out and sub the conventionals and operations. Question number 7 with reference to circulars and the migrations and the consider the following statement. First and second, India experience and the substantial nationals and the circular migration and notably and from the rural and the urban areas and often for the job in the sectors and like the constructions. It influences family dynamics and sometimes the increasing the woman and decisions making powers in the absence of the man. Statement. India experiences and the substantial and the international circumstantial migration notability and from the rural to the urban areas and often for the job in the sector like the construction. It is the influences followings. Influence for family and the dynamics and the sometimes and increasing the woman and decisions making power in the absence or men. Statement 3 is correct and the circulars and the migration is the military and repetition and movement of other migrant and workers and the between the home and the host and the areas and typically for the for the purpose of the employment. Employment employment and this means and that the circulars and the migrated and do not the incident to the permanently and settle in the destinations and place and they may the return into theirs the homes and the country and after other few months or the years. And question number with reference to the solars and the geo engineering consider the following statement. See first and third, it is refers to the set of the proposed and the techniques and the technologies aims at the mitigating the efforts of the climates and changes by the intentionally and the modifying the earth ready tips and balances. It could also the potentially and the impact and the monsoon patterns and in the different and the regions. C. First and third is correct explanation. देख लेते हैं. Solar geoengineers refers to the set of the proposed and the techniques and the technology. Reduction and the effect of the climates and changes and with biles and be the works and to the reduce and the greenhouse and gas emission and however and it does not and the address the underlying the causes of the climate changes and it is not either sustainable solutions in the long term. Question number 1. Consider the following statement. A. The green revolutions and focused on the increasing the supply of the food rather than in the many managing and the demands. Second, the green revolutions and was the baked and by other comprehensives but of the practices. The Green Revolution focused on the increasing the supply of the food rather than the marginalized demand. The Green Revolution then was the baked and by other comprehensively set of the politics and the including the input. Explanation first and second is correct. The Green Revolution focused on the increasing the supply and to the rather than managing and the demand and the Green Revolution was the backed and by other comprehensively set of the policies and the including the inputs and the subsidies and the price and supports and the public investment in the irrigations and the primacy aims of the green revolutions and was to the introduce an HYBS and of the carols of the to alleviate and poverty and the malnutrition. The green revolution also the introduced new the varieties of high the yieldings and crops and that were more the residents to open. With reference to the coral reef and the breakthrough and the initiative, consider the following statement and B. To only and the initiative is the grounded in the science and based in the museum and the achievement goal and for the both state and the non-state actors and corals reef and the breakthrough and the initiative and I'm to the secures the futures and of at the least and 1,20,000 kilometers of the shadows and water the tropical corals and reef and with the investment of aid the least and US the 12 billions and to the support the sustainable inventions and for the corals reefs and the communities and that the really on them. The initiative is the grounded and in the social and based on the measurables and the achievement. Goal in both the state and the non-state actor. With reference to the Badiyas and the Lima Kumi and the fish and consider the following statements. The fish is the commonly in the found in the streams and with the slow and the moderate water flow and the decide and the sedimented water bodies and the fish. The fish is found in India and Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Thailand and Myanmar. and see first and second and the bodies and the lima cooties and fish is the commonly and found in the streams and with the slow or the moderate water flow in ditch and the straight and water bodies, and the fish is the found in India's and Bangladesh and Nepal, Pakistan and Thailand and Myanmar. Question number 3. With references to the nationals and the crisis and management community and NCMC, and consider the following statement. First and second. Aja. It is other committees and set ups and by the set up and by the government of India is the back of a. आजा तू सो जा आजा बेटा First and second, it is the committee and set up and by the government of India in the wake of either national and the calamities and for the effective coordinations and the implementations of the relief and measures and the operations. The committee and is headed and by the cabinet secretary. NCMC is other committee and set up. Tunnu mali punnu mali kundu mali. Kul bagi birthday ho. NCMC is other committee and the set up and by the government of India and in the wake of other nationals and the calamities and for the effective coordination and the implementation of relief measures and the operation. The committee is headed and by the cabinet secretaries. There are no such the functions and of the committees. And question number 4. Milak River is located in Nagaland. The Milak River is a river in the state of the Nagaland in India, and it is the tributaries of the Dhanashiris and rivers and which is termed and is the tributaries of the Brahmaputra River and the Milak and river the originated in the Mokokchung and the districts of the Nagaland and flow through the districts of the Boka and the Dimapur before joining the Dhanashiris and river in the Golaghat districts of Assam. And question number 4. With reference and to the international coral reef and the initiatives and ICRI, consider the following statements. B is correct and only 2, and it is aims and to the promote the coral meanings and own a as other sustainable industry. First and third is correct, and the ICRI is other global partnerships and between the nations. ICRI is the global and the partnerships and between the nation and the organizations and builds the strips and to the preserve and coral reefs and the related and the ecosystem and around the world, and India is the members of the ICRI. It is does not the promote and coral minings and as the sustainable industries. And with question number with references to the crisis and management and groups of the CMG, and consider the following statement. A. It is the group and under the chairmanships and of the central relief and commissioners and comprising and the senior officers and from the various ministries and the others and concerned the department. A only. CMG and is other group and under the chairmanships and of the central reliefs and commissioners and comprising the senior officers and from the various ministries and the others and the concern and department. The CMG and the meets and aid the list and twice other years and under the central relief commissioners. Question number 7. With reference to the caps and town the conventions, and consider the following statement. D. Neither one nor two and the Cape Town and the convention and sign and in the 2001 and the effective and in the 2006 and addresses and issues and related to the aviations. like the engines, like the engines and the helicopters and the airframes, and that the lake of late other facts fixed location, and it was the adopted and under the international and the civil aviations and the organization ICAQ and the International Institution for the unifications of the private law and UNIDROITS. Question number 8. With reference to the national and the turmerics and the board, and consider the following statement. First and third is correct. C is correct. It is meant to the focus on the development and the growth of the turmerics and the product in the countries. And third, she and it is focused on the skill and development of the turmerics and growers, and to the add more the value and to their the produce. National Turmeric Board and focus on the development and the growth of the turmeric and the turmeric product and in the country. It is also the focused and on the skill and development of the turmerics and growth, and to the aid and more and the values and to the theirs the produced. And the board and has the chairperson and to be the appointed and by the central by the central government. And question number 9. And with revenues and to the India's and the Japan and fund and IGF, and the consider the following statement. Only the fund and has been the launch and the national investment and the infrastructures and fund IIF, and is the collaboration and with the Japan Bank for the international corporation JBIC. IGF has been the launched by the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund and IIF in the collaboration and with the Japan's and Bank for the International Corporation JBIC, and this the fund and is the NIF and the first and bio and the laterals and funds. Statement second. The funds and will the focus on the investing in the environmental and the stabilities and the low carbons and the emissions and strategies the aims to the play the role of the role of being other partner of the choice to the further and the enhances Japanese investment into the into India, and with references to the quantums and the dots, and consider the followings and the statement. And B, only two in the quantum and does are the employed and in the quantums and dot and the display and the qualities and the quiet and lead and as other technology and for the improving the colors and the efficiency of the liquid and crystal display and the LCDs and the OLEDs display. हाँ सीख जाएगा वो सीख दे तो quantum does not are the nano crystals, and that the X quantums and dot and are the nano crystals, and that the exhibitions and the uniques and the opticals and the electronics and the properties and thus properties, and due to theirs the small and the size and the quantums and the confinement and affect the quantums, and does are dots are the employed in the quantums and non dot and the display quite or the quite lead and as other technologies and for the improvings and the colors and the efficiency of the liquid and the crystals and display LCDs and the OLED and the display. Quantums dot cannot be the used and to the create other perpetuals and motions machines. Consider the following statement and be only two. And Kanu and Gandhi and the grand nephews and was one of the most and the privileges and the photographers and to the documentary his life. Gandhi was one of the most photographs and pupils and of the 20th centuries, and he understood and the powers of the images and the used and them to the his and the advantages and in the fights for the Indians independence and the Gandhis and was the willings and to make his the privates and life as the accessibles and as is the publics and actions and if it is the surveyed and the purpose. Kanu Gandhi and the Gandhi nephews and was one of the most and the privileges and the photographers to document his life. Question number second with reference to the Cobri and Water the Management Authority and the CWMA and consider the following statement A. First seconds, it is the statutory and the body established by the government of India and under the Inter and the State Rivers and Water Disputes Act 1956. It is implemented and the final order of the Kaveri Waters Disputes and Tribunals and CWDT on the sharings and of the covering water or the Kaveri River water. CWMA is the statutory body and established and by the government of India and under the Inter and the State Rivers and Water the Disputes Act of 1956 and it is implemented the final orders of the Kaveri River and Disputes the Tribunals and the CWDT. CWDT and on the sharings and of the Kaveri rivers and water rivers. The CWMA is not the responsible and for the constructions and of the new dams and the reserve and borders and on the Kaveri river and it is main role it is and to be the implemented the decisions of the Kaveri water disputes and the tribunals and the CWDT and the ensures and the proportion sharings of the water among the state and the involved in the disputes. और कहीं को मोड़ा मोड़ी हो तो ना अभी चुप चलो कर सब अच्छे डराता मुझसे. Consider the following statement and B. Only to end the while free and the speeches and current expression the diverse and the sometimes and the controversial and the viewpoint and it is also the expected and the individuals to the exercise and this the right and responsibilities and without the inexcitings and violence and head the speech or the harms and to the others. Select the correct answer from the code giving below. B. Two only. Academic freedom goes and beyond the gardens the scholars and from the international interferences and it also the guarantees and there the autonomies and to the freely ensures and the expressed and the ideas and within and the outside and the academia. Academic freedom goes and beyond the gardening and the scholar from the external and the interference. It is also the guaranteed and there the autonomies and to the freely exposed and the express ideas and within and the outside and the academias and covering the knowledge and the pursuits and to the research and the technology teachings and the opens and the discourses and free the speeches is the borders and the concept of the encompassing and the individuals and right to the express and the opinions and ideas and the belief and the without and censorships or the restraint and not only and from the government and but also and from the private entity and the socio-social and the pressures. बोलना सही से लेट नहीं पा रहा मालिश कर रहा देखो तो बे राम अरे Consider the following statement and A. Only when the climate and the flow crisis is other terms and that the represented multiples and the interconnected and crisis and the streamings and from the climate changes and affecting the numerous and the sectors and globally and in India. The climate and the poly crisis is other terms and that the represented and multiples and the interconnected and crisis the streamings and from the climates and changes the affecting the numerous and the sectors and globally and in India's and the carbon and the accountings and also known as the greenhouse gas and the CHAG and accountings over the carbons and footprint and the accounting is a the systematic process of the measurings and the trackings and the account of the carbon dioxide and CO2 and others the greenhouse gas and GHG as an emitted and into the atmospheres as a the result of the human activities it is does not the measures and there the bait and the directly. Consider the following statement with reference to the basoli and the pashminas. It is the hard spun spoons and the product and the noun for the extent and the softness and the fineness and the lights and the weight and it is the made and from the sheep and wool. Bazoli and the pashminas is the hand and the spoon and product and noun and for the extent and the softness and the fitness and the light and weight. It is other type of pashminas and wool and that is the hand and the spoons and the boobans and in the basoli regions and of the Jammu and Kashmir and statement and the basoli and the pashminas is made from the fine and the under and the coat of the Chanthali and goat and which is other special breed of the goats of the goat and goat and funds in the heights and the altitude and regions of the Ladakh, Nepal and the Tibet. With reference to the global snake and the outwards and the flood and the globes and the consider the following statement. A. Only one. It is other type of the flood and that the occurs and when the glaciers and like the experiences either shouldn't and the repeats and release of water. Globe is a type of the floods and that the occurs and when other glaciers and like the experience other shouldn't and the repeat release of the water and building other barriers and over the dams and across other glaciers and like the will not the entirely and the eliminated and the risk of the globes and the however and it is can be the reduced. It can reduce the risk and the mitigated the impact of the globes and it is thus and the occurs and globes and can the occurs and in any the regions and where the globals glaciers and the lakes and are the presented and the impact of the globes and can be the felt and downstream the including the low-landed areas. Question number 7 with reference to the UAE and India's and high the level joint and the task and forces and on the investment and consider the following statement. B. On request the joint and the task force is the co-chaired and by the ministers of the commerce and the industry of the India and the ministers and of the economic and of the UAE. UAE, India and the high level joint and the task force on the investment and the primarily and focused on the economically and the trade related and the matters and between the United Arab Emirates and the UAE and the Indias and the joint and the task force is the co-chaired and by the ministers and of the commerce and the industries of the Indias and the ministers of the economics of the UAE. Consider the following statement with reference to the calories and this. First, second, third, Kalari is other Dogras and the cuisines and the dish is the made and from the milk and in it is other dance season. It is the fun defined and it is the origin in the Udhampur and the Jammu and Kashmir. Kalari is other Dogra and the cuisines and the dish is the made and from the milk and is the dance and cheese. It is fun. It is the origin in the Udhampur and the Jammu and Kashmir. With reference to the European, consider the following statement. Be only two and it is in the international credit and card and the network and that is accepted and the globally. And first and third is current rupee was the convenient and the launched by the national and the payment corporation of India and NPCI and the rupee and is other domestic and the payment card and network in India and has the contributed and the significantly to the financials inclusion by the providing in the affordables and the accessibilities and payments system and to the million of the Indians and the including and the those in the rural and the underserved in areas and the statement rupee is not and the international and the credit card network it is other domestic payment card network in India and the primarily and intended and for use within the country and consider the following statement 6 first and third as per the periodics and the labors and for the surveys and the PLFS and data for the 2021 and 22 and labor force the participations and rate LFPR and is only in the 35.6% for the women and in the workings and age in the group and 15.59 years as per the years. India has one of the lowest and female labors and the force participations and the rate LFL and PR in the world. As per the periodic and labor forces the survey and the PLFS and data for the 2021 Bukangao 2021 and 22 and the labor force and the participations and rate and the LFPR is only the 35.6% for the women in the workings and ages groups and the 15.59 years and India has one of the lowest female labors and force the participations and the rates and LFPRs and in the world even the behinds and other the south and the A1s and Asians and the countries and the except and the Afghanistan and Pakistan statement second and as per and the PLFS and data the participations and rate of the women was the highest and for the rural India and compared to the urban. Question number 1 Samakkas and the Malawars. Samakkas and the Samakka and the Mara Lamas and Jataras and is other tribals and the festivals of Telangana and Samakkas and the Sara Lamas and Jataras is other tribals and festivals and that is the celebrated in the Telangana state of India. The festival is held in the honors of the Samakkas and the Sara Lama and to the tribals and women who are the reserved and as the goddess and by the Koyas and the tribals and community in the regions. Consider the following statement. Second number. Consider the following statement. Be only two. Arunachal Pradesh yak is the only registered yak and breed in India. And yak chirpi and is other naturally and fermented and milk product and prepared and from the milk of the Arunachali yak. And Arunachale and yak is the only and the registered yak and breed in India. And with reference to the section and 54 EC. And bond and the capitals and gains and bond and consider the following statement. Be only to and thus the bond are the transferables and can be the used and to the claim and a the deductions and on the short term and the capitals. Capitals gains and thus the bond capital gains are correct and the sections and the 9, 14, 45 and BC. Bond are the fixed and income the instrumented and that the provided the capitals and gain and tax and the exemptions and under the sections and 54 and the economics of income tax and the act to the investors and thus bonds and offers the attractive and the invest and the rated and which are the usually higher than those the offered and by the others and fixed income investment options. Section 54 EC and the bond are not the transferred and they cannot be used due to the claim and the deductions and on the short terms. Capital gain and thus the bond are the specifically and the maintained for the investors and the earning and long terms and the capital gain and the would like tax and the examples and on thus the gains. With references to the faster adoptions and the manufacturing of the hybrid and the electrical and the vehicles and in India's and fame the schemes and consider the following statement. Be only to and the scheme is being and implemented and by the Ministry of the Heavy and the Industries and fame schemes and the provided the incentives and to the manufactured and the buyers of the electrical and the hybrids and vehicles and aims to the increase and the demand for thus the vehicles and by the providing the financial supports. The schemes is being the implemented and by the Ministry of the Heavy Industries. And question number 5 with reference to the Mahatma Gandhi and National Rural Unemployment Guarantee Act and 2005 and Manregas and consider the following statement. And which of the four correct statement are correct? The first and third, it is the demand and driven and schemes and that the guarantees 100 days of the unskilled and the work per years and for the every rural household and that the bonds it the covering and for all the district and in the countries and I expect and those and with other 100% urban populations. And it is the right and based on the schemes and which and the means and that the workers and have other legal rights and to the unemployment under the schemes. Manrega is other demand and the driven schemes and that guarantee and 100 days of the unskilled and the work and per years and for every the rural household and that the wants it and the coverings and all the districts and in the countries and expected the those and with age the 100% urban and the population and it is the right based the schemes and which means and that the worker and have other legal and right to the unemployment under the schemes. The wages and paid under the Manregas are the determined and by the states and government and they can vary and from the state and to the state from the states and to the states. The wages are also the linkage into the minimums and wages for the agriculture laborers in each state. With reference, question number 3 with reference to the Asia Pacific Institution for the Broadcastings Broadcasting Development AIBD and consider the following statement A. Only when it is a non-profit organization that provided and the financial assistance to the media companies in the Asia Pacific regions. Explanations and AIBD is other rationals and the intergovernmental organization that was established and in the 1977 under the aegis of the United Nations Education, Scientific and the Cultural Organization and the UNESCO. It is the mandated and to the achieving either by vibrants and the cohesives and the electric medias and the environments and in the Asias and the Pacific regions and through the policy and the resources and development AIBD and missions and is to the enhances and the electronics and the medias and not the print medias in the Asia Pacific through the policy and resources and the various activities and like the training and the seminars and the workshops. India is one of the founders and the member of the AIBS and question number 7 consider the following statement and first and second and agro the textile are the specialized and textiles and used in the agriculture and to the enhances the crop growth and protest and plants and the improvement farming practices and second agro the textile are used for the packagings and the protecting fruits and the during the transportations for the and the storage. First and second is correct and agro the textile are the specials and the textiles and used in the agriculture to the enhance crop growth and protect the plant and the improve the farming the practices. Agro the textiles and are used and for the packagings and the protections and from the during transportations. Improved farming practices in agro-textiles are used and for the packagings and the protecting the fruit during the transportations and the storage. And agro and the textiles and are made and from the varieties and of the materials and including the including the nationals and the fibers and the synthetics and fiber and the blends and of the naturals and the synthetics fibers. Question number 8 and with reference as to the sustainable development and goal the SDGs and consider the following statement and see first and third and thus are the collections and of the 17th and the interlinkage objective and the describe and unreserved. Consider the following statement and describe unreserved an SDGs goal, sustainable development goal and C. First and third and there are the collection of the 17 and the interlinked object. The blueprint and for the peace and the prosperities and for the peoples and the planets and the now and into the futures. Question number 8 and with reference to the sustainable development goals SDGs and consider the following statements and see first and third is thus are the collections and of the 17th and the interlinked and the objectives and the design and to be the sub as other shares and the blueprints and for peace and prosperity for peoples and the planets and now and the into the futures. And third SDGs are the crucial and to the end the poverty and the other socio and the economically and the environments of the product. See first and third is correct and SDG are the crucial and to the end the poverty and the others and socio-economically and environmental problems and explanations देख लेते हैं. The SDG are the collections of the 17 and the interlinked and the objectives and the designed and to the sub as other shares and the blueprint for the peace and the prosperities for the peoples and the others and the planets and now and the into and the future. And SDG are the crucial and to the end and poverty and the other socio and economically and the environmental problems. And SDGs are the voluntary and set of the goals and adopted and by all the United Nations and numbers the state in the 2015. And while the SDGs are not the legally and the winding and the countries and are the expected and to take and the otherwise alvari other ownerships and the established and the national and the frameworks and for and the achievement of the goals. अलवारी में होंगी वहाँ ऊपर बस साइड वाइट से दिख रही होंगी तो. Question number 9. Which of the following statement is incorrect and the respected and to the MS the Swaminathans are the renowned and the agriculture scientist. D. His the contributions and to the Indians agriculture and where the largely and the theoreticals and the lagged and practicals and the relevances. And D. MS Swaminathan and contribution and to the Indian agriculture and where the practicals and the had a the significant impact and he is now and for his the pioneers and the work in the greens and resolutions and with the introduce and the high yieldings and crop the varieties and the modern agriculture practices and leading to the increase and food production and the improved and the livelihood and for farmer in India. क्या कुछ रहा जाइए तीन मैंने जाइन देखी थी भाई कोई नोट आला ही हो तो पता हाँ. Question number 10. Consider the following statement. Consider the following statement. Only one. The government is the empowered and to the temporary and ban the exports and the impose on minimums. Export the price MIP and the discourage and the export of the certain communities and to the ensure their availability in the domestic markets. The government is the empowered and to the temporary and the ban the exports and the imposes and the minimum export price MIP and the discourage and exports of the certain communities and to the ensures and there's the availabilities in the domestic market and the recent and the rise and exports and the onions and the exports and demand side the inflammations and is the accused and by the high demands and the low and the productions and which the created is the demand and the supply and gap and it lead and to the hike in the prices and due to the increase and in the consumption. Question number 1. And with references to the Udan Gudi and the Panan Gakru Patti and the consider the following statements and A. The only one it is also the referred and to and the plants and the jaggeries. Udar Gudi and the Panan Karupati and is also and the refers and to as the palm and the jaggeries and the other Gudi and the Panan and the Karupati and is the produced and the throughout the years and but the quantities and of the jaggeries and is the best and the during the monsoon and season and it is other darks and browns and colors and has other chavies and the caramels like the consultancies. Question number 2. With reference to the Rani and the Durgavatis and the consider the following statement and which statement giving are correct and C. First and third and C was and the one in the Mahovas and the Chandelas dynasty and C is the remember as the symbol of the Indian resistance against the imperialism. Rani Durgavati was born in the Mahovas and Chandelas and dynasty, and C is the remarkable, A is the symbols of the Indian resistance and against the imperialism. Statement second, and Rani Durgavati and did not the surrender to the Mughal after the battles of the Choragarh and Sida fought and the bravely and was the killed in the battles. Question number 3, and with references to the goods and the services and tax and the GST Council, and consider the following statement and one only, and the council is meant to the make and the recommendation and to the unions and the states and on the important issues is related to the GST, like the goods and the services, and that the may to the subjected or the exempted and from the GST. The council is meant to the make and the recommendation and to the unions and the states and on the important and the issues and related and to the GST. GST like the goods and the services, and that subjected or expected from the GST. The GST Council is the governments and body in the India's and responsible and for the second and tax rates and making policy and the decision and related to the goods and the services and take the GST, and it does not and set the prices and of the goods and the services in the market, and rather it is the set and the taxes and the GST Council and decisions and are the legally and bindings in India. Yes, with reference to the territorial army and the TA, and the consider the following statement. And in first, second, the origins of the Indian territory army and can be the traced and to the day of the British and Raj, and when the British and raised the territorials and the armies and through the Indian territories and Act 1920. The primary role of the TAN is to be the release and the regulars and armies and from the statics and the duties such as the road and security and the protection of the communications lines. Explanations देख लेते हैं. The origins and of the Indian territorials and the armies and can be the traced and to the days of the British Raj, and when the British and raised and the territorials and armies and through the Indians and the Territorial Act 1920. The primary and role of the TA and is to be the release and the regulars and the armies and from the statics and the duties such as road and the security and protection of the communities lines, and the whilst the formers and the regulars armies the persons and are the eligible to join the TA, and it is the also the open and to the civilization volunteers and who meets the eligibilities and criteria Indian citizens and both and with the without and prior years and the military experience and can join the territory army. जब पिताजी फोन लगा दो. With reference to the Sagar Pariksha and consider the following statement. It is the composition to promote the Indian and the seafood industry, and second, it is aimed at the strengthening and the fisheries and sectors in India, and with which one of the following is correct in the respected and of the above statement. D. Statement first is incorrect and the statement 2 is correct. It is the composition to promote the Indian and the seafood industry. It is aimed and aid the strengthening and the fisheries and sector in India. Savar Parikrama and is other transformative and the journeys and the planet and across the coastals and belt and to the so and the solidaries and with the fishers folks and the fish and the farmers and the related stakeholders and to the promotes and the responsible and the fisheries and the sustainable and the marine ecosystem. Sagar Parikramas is I am aid the strengthening and the fisheries and the sector in India. Question number 6. With reference to the global stock tax of the Paris Agreement and GST, the consider the following statement. And question number C, first and third. It was the established under the Article 14 of the Paris Agreement, and the C. Third, and the outcomes and of the GST and the shall inform the parties and in the updatings and the enhancings and in the nationalities and the determines and manners, and there's the action and the support as well as in enhancing the international and the cooperation for the climate actions. GST was the establishment and under the Article 14 of the Paris Agreement, the outcome and of the GST and sells the inform and the parties and in the updatings and the enhancing and in other nationalities and the determined and manner and there the action and the support and as well as in the enhancing the international corporations and for the climate actions. The global stock tax and is other process and established and under the Paris Agreement to access the collective and the process of the countries and toward the achieving the goals and of the agreement, and it is not the conducted and annually and it is other process and under the Paris Agreement and that occurred the every 5 years. Question number 7. With reference to the troubles and for the life and the initiative and consider the following statement. Only to and it the encourage and the tourism and business and to the adapt and the sustainable and the practices and earn the certification in the bronze and silvers and the golden levels within the programs. Troubles for the life and the initiative aim to the create and the awareness and about the sustainable tourism and the encourages tourism and business and to take the samples and actions and that result in the conservations and of the environments and the promotions and of the responsible and tourism the practices, and it can encourage tourism the business and to the adapt and the sustainable practices and the earn and the certifications and in the browns and the silvers and the golden and the syllables and within the program. Statement third is incorrect and there is no such as the aim of the initiative. Question number 8. Consider the following statement with references to the animals and duels. Only one is correct and they are the also known as the Asian wild and dogs and in India's and doll can be the found in the Eastern Ghats and explanations देख लेते हैं. And dolls and are also the noun and is the Asian and wild dogs in India's and dolls are the found in the three and the clusters and namely the Western and the Eastern Ghats and the Central India landscapes and the Northeast Indias, and they are the listed in the schedules and second of the Worldwide Wildlife and the Protection Act 1972. Question number 9. With references to the Mediations and Act 2023, consider the following statement. And A. First and second, and the act and the required and persons and to try other settles and civil or the commercial disputes and through the mediations and before the approaching and any the court or the tribunals. Mediation proceedings and under the act and must be the completed and within other period of the 120 days and from the date of the first and the appearances and before the mediators must be extended for the maximum period of the 60 days. The act and the requires and the persons and to the try and to the settles and the civil or the commercial disputes and through the mediations and before the approachings and any the court or the tribunals. Nuls and the mediations and the proceedings and under the act and must be the completed and within the period of the 120 days and from the date of the first and the appearances before the mediators and which may be extended for other maximums and the period of 60 days. The areas the excluded and with the mediations and acts the includes and the series allegations and of the frauds and the criminals and the offenses, environmentals and the matters and the reserved and for the India reason for the national green tribunals and the matters relating to the competitions and the telecoms and security and the electricity and law and the land acquisitions. Consider the following statement and see all theories. And Israel and is the third largest Asian trade partners of India, and after the Russia and Israel the supplies the most military equipment to India, and Israel major exports to India and include the precision stones and the metals and the electric and the equipment and fertilizer machines etc. How many of the above statements are correct to see? And Israel is the third and the largest Asia's and the trade and partnerships of India's and the India and the 10th overall and the after the Russia's and the Israel's and the supplies and the most and the military and the equipment to India's and with the militaries and the business and between the two and the both. Over 74,000 and crores and the Israel's and majors the exports into the India's they include the precious stones and the metals and electronic and equipment and the fertiles and the machines etc. Question number 1. Consider the following statement. First and second P Pushas and 44 is other semi and draft indicas and rice the variety and developed by the Indian Council of the Agriculture and Reserve and the ICAR. And second, it is high the yieldings and varieties and that is the resistances and to the pest and the diseases. Pusa and 44 is other semi-draft and the indicas and rye the varieties developed by the Indian Council of the Agriculture and Research ICAR and it is other high and the yieldings varieties and that is the resist and to the pest and the diseases and the pushas and 44 takes an about the 160 days and to the matures which is much and the longer than about 35 to the 40 days and then others the paddy and varieties. Consider the following statement and be to only. The take home and the reason and THR and the programs and offers the 45 and the nations and for use aid the home and for the children and aged the 6 to the 36 month and as well as the pregnant and lactating women and with the goals of the bridging and the nutrition and gaps the among them. According to the World and the Health Organization WHO and the complementary and the feedings and should not be the started and before other 6 months of the age. This is because and the baby and the digestive and the systems and is not and the fully and the developed and for the 6 month old and the they are the at the risk of the malnutrition and the take and home the rations and the THR and the programs and offer the four defied and the ration and for use either homes and for the children and aged 6 to the 36 month and as well as the pregnant and the lactating woman and with the goal of the budgeting of the nutrition and gap among them. Question number 3 and with reference to the Bilayati and the Kirakikar and the propose and the Julie Foras and consider the following statement and B. Only to it has other deep and the root system and that can tap the into the underground and water the supply and leading to the water and shortage and for the native plant and animals. Bilaiti Kirar is other natives and to the Mexicos and the South America and the Caribbeans and the it was and the introduced into the India in the 19th century and by the British. And Bilayati and the Kirar has other deep root and the system and that can be the tap into and the underground water supply and leading to the water storage and for the natives and the plant and the animals and it is other valuables and sources of the fodders for livestock. Question number 4. With reference to the National Corporation Development and the Corporation NCDC and consider the following statements. both first and the second, and it is the apex and the organizations and for the promotions and the development and of the corporations in India, and it is the statutory and the corporation and set up the under and the act of the Indian Parliament. NCDC is the apex organizations for the promotions and the development of the corporatives in India, and it is the statutory and the corporation and set up the under and the act of the Indian Parliament on the 13th March 1963. With reference to the periodic labors and the force and survey, and PLFS consider the following statement and B only two. As per the PLFS and the 2022 and 23 and laborers and forces, the participations and rate and LFPRs has increased in the rural areas and from the 2017 and 18. B2 only. While PLFS and the provided the valuable information about the labor forces and participations and the employmented, and it is not and the primary and sources and for the GDP and the calculations and the statement as per the PLFS and the 2022 and 23 and labor force, the participations and raise the LFPRs has increased in the rural areas and from the 50.7% and in the 2017 and 18 and 60.8% 2022 to 23. Question number 6. With reference and to the free movement and the regime FIMR along the India and the Myanmar borders, and IMB and consider the following statement and C. Statement first is correct, statement second is correct, statement first. IFMR was the implemented and as the part of the India Act East policy and to improve the relations and with the Myanmar and the promote trade and the cultural exchange. Explanation: the IMFR, the FMR, and was the implemented as the part of the India Act East policy to improve the relation with the Myanmar and the promote trade and the culture exchange. And the free movement regimes and FMR is specific and to the India's and the Myanmar's and citizens. It is does not apply to the peoples from other countries or the nationalists even if they live and within the 16 centimeter and zone near the Indo-Myanmar's borders. Question number 7. With reference to the Pradhan Mantri and the Khanij and the Kistra and the Kalyan Yojana and PM KKY. Consider the following statement and see first and three, and it was the launched by the government to the provided and for the welfare of the areas and people affected by the mining and related operations. PM KKY and provided and for the IUT utilizations and of aid the list and the 60% of the fund and for the high priorities and areas like the drinking water supply and the environments preservations and the pollutions and control the measures etc. PM KKY was launched by the government and to the provided and for the welfares of the areas and the peoples expected by the mining related to the operation. It is the provided for the utilizations of aid list and the 60% of the fund and for the high and the priorities and the areas and like the drinking water supply and the environments and preservations and the pollutions and control the measures etc. The scheme is not and the intended and to the provided and the financials and the assistances and to the mining companies and but the others and to the address the socials and the environmentals concern association with mining the operation. With reference to the multimodals and the artificial intelligence and consider the following statement and A only one, and it is type of the all and that can the process and the understand and the multiple type of the data or the modalities and such as the text and images, audios and videos. Multimodal artificial intelligence is a type of the artificial intelligence that can process, understand, and the multiple types of the data or the modalities and the such as the text and the images and audios and can videos. Multimodals and the artificial intelligence is not other techniques is based on the transfer and learnings and but the rather other field and the within other artificial intelligence and that the focus on the proceedings and the understanding information and from the multiples and data the sources or the modalities such as the text image and the audios and videos. Question number 5 and with references to the carbon and credit trading and schemes and CCTS and consider the following statements. C. Both 1 and 2 India the introduced and the CCTS and under the Energy and the Conservation Act of 2001 and to the manage and the greenhouse gas emissions and it is other systems and that allow and the companies and the individuals and to the why other sell carbon credit and with the which represented the right to the emits either carbon and the amount of the carbon and the dioxide and or the others greenhouse gases. India introduced and has the CCTS and the under the Energy and the Conservation Act of the 2001 and manage greenhouse and gas the emissions and it is other system and there the allows and companies and individuals and to buy and the sell carbon credit and which the represented and the right to the emits and either carbon amount of the of carbon dioxide or the other greenhouse gases. Question number 1 with reference which of the following is the correct and with the references and to the chronomatosis. Second and third it has been the doubled and the bronze and the diabetes and the because of the skins and the darkenings and the concomitant and the pen and the critics illness. 3. The most common types of the chronomatosis is the hereditary and the chronomatosis and which is the caused and by other gain and changes and the passed down the through the families. Homochromotomes and the also and known as in Iran. Overload is other genetics and the disorders and that causes the body and to the observe and to the much and the irons and from the food and homo and the chromatomes and has been the doubled and the browns and debates and because of the skins and the darkenings and the concomitant and the pancreatics and the illness and the most and the common types of the homo and the chromatosis is the hereditary and the chromatosis and which is the caused and by other gene and the changes and passed down the through families. With reference to the tokenizations and the consider the following statement A only one. It is the process of the adding sensitive and data and to other text and to mix and it is more the secured. Explanation देख लेते हैं. Tokenization is the process of the replacing the sensitive data and with other known and the sensitive tokens and this the tokens is other unique and the identifiers and that is the generated and using other cryptographics and algorithm and the originals and the data is stored and the securities and in other separated and the location and unknown as other token and the vault. Tokenization is not either way and to the make and data and more the secures and by the encrypting and it and the encryptions and the tokenizations. Tokenizations and are to the different securities and techniques and that can be the used and to the protect and data. And tokenization is the commonly used in the financial industries to protect the credit card and member numbers and account the numbers and others the personals and the financial information the RBI governor has recently proposed the introductions of the card on the file and the tokenizations and cost and facilities and aid the issue the India cards and waste. Question number 3. Consider the following statement and see both 1 and 2. Canada's capacity building. C. Correct. Capacity buildings and the schemes and under the Digital India programs and the evisions and buildings and the educated and the relevant capacities and at all the levels in the government and the Digital India's programs and aims to the transforms and India into other knowledge and based the economics and other digitally empowered and security and was the insurance and digital services. Digitals and the access and digitals and the inclusions and the digital and the empowerment and the bridgings and the digitals and the divided. And C. both first and second and explanation देख लेते हैं. Capacity building and the schemes and under the Digital India programs and the envisions and the buildings and educated and the relevant the capacities at all the levels and in the governments and the Digital India programs and aims and to the transforms and India's into either knowledge and based the economics and head other digitally and the empowered and society by the ensuring digital services and Digital India. Digital access, the digital inclusion and digital the empowerment and the bridging the digital devices. Question number 4. Consider the following statement. A. And Gaganyaan and missions and aims and to the demonstrated and the capabilities and to the send and humans and to the low earth and Davids. Explanation. Gaganyaan missions and aims to the demonstrated and the capabilities and to the send and the humans and to the low and the orbits and LEO on boards and the Indians launch vehicles and the brings and them and back to the earth safety and high. The TV and the D1s and the engraved and test the fightings and of the Gaganyaan and spacecraft. It is the high and the altitude and the aboard and test are the part of the Gaganyaan and programs and it will and the tested and the Gaganyaan and spacecraft and performances in other variety of the environments and the coordinations and will the help and to the ensures that it is a safer for the humans and the astronaut and to the fly on. Consider the following statement with references to the prompt and the correctives and the actions and PCA and the frameworks. Be neither one nor two. The PCA and the frameworks is the annually and the set of the guidelines and that the enables and the RBI and to the intervene in the NBFCs and that are the showing some sign of the financial strength and the PCA and the frameworks and is the intended and the strengthened and the financial factors and wise the identified and the addressing potential problems yearly. Question number 6. Consider the following statement. Be only two. India primarily and the export and to the Italy and comprise and the metals and such as the irons and the steels and the leathers, chemicals and the gems and the jewelry. Italy is India's and the 4th largest European trading partners and the 12th and the largest foreign investors and in the country and with the FDI reasonings and the US and 2 and the billions and marks and in the 2020. India's the primarily and the export to the Italy and the comprises metals such as the iron and the steel and leather, the chemicals and the gems and jewelry and 2021 and India and the Italy and engaged and the strategics and the partnerships on the energy and the transitions and to the advanced and collaborations on the areas and like and greens the hydrogens and the biofuels and the Italy and also the join the successful India France lead and international solar alliances. Question number 7. And with reference to the BRICS international competition conferences and BRICS ICC and consider the following statement. Only when the BRICS ICCN is and the annual conferences on the climate change and the environment protections. The BRICS ICC is other biennials and the conferences and the organized and by the competition and authorities of the Brazils and Russias, the Indias and the Chinas and the Red Sound. And South Africa, it is the boosters and the corporations and experiences and the sharings, the discussions and on the competitiveness and the enforcements and challenges. The 8th BRIC and international competition and conference, the BRICS ICC and 2023 and is being the hosted by India. And BRICS, the ICC and help to the promote the importance of the competitions and law and the enforcement and the promoting the economic growth and innovations. And question number 8. And with references to the exercise and the Bharat and the NCX and 2023 and considers the following statements. And 12. First, it is I am sent to the train seniors, the management and the technicals and personals and of the government and the critical sectors and the organizations and the public private. Public private sector. With reference to the exercise in Bharat NCX and 2023, consider the following statement. It is aimed to the train seniors management and the technical personals and of the government and the critical sectors, organization and the public private agencies on the contemporary cyber threat and the handlings and the cyber and the indicates and the responses. Exercise Bharat NCX and 2023 and aims and to the train and the senior management and the technicals and persons of government and the critical sector organizations and the public and the privates and the agencies on the contemporary and the cyber threat and the handlings, the cyber indicates and the responses. Exercise Bharat and the NCX 2023 and is the beings and the organized by the nationals and the Security and Council. The Secretary of the NS, the CSN is the in the strategics and the partnerships and with the Rashtriya Raksha and University RRU. Question number 9. Consider the following statement. 2. Hamas seeks to the established and the Islamic the state is all the historical and the Palestinian from the Jordan rivers and to the Mediterranean seas and to the liberate the Palestinians and the territorials and from the Israel occupations. The Gaza Strip is not the Soviet state and it is the Palestine's territory and located on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, borders and by the Israel and to the north and the east and the Egypt and to the southwest. The Hamas seeks to establish and the Islamics and the state and is no all of the historical Palestine and from the Jordan's rivers and to the Mediterranean Sea and to the liberate and the Palestinians and the territories and from the Israels and the Israel occupation. Consider the following statement. Ayurvedic and the medicine and the focus on the root and cause of the diseases and the aims to the treat and the whole persons and the while moderns and the medicine focused on the treating the symptoms and of the diseases and the Europe. Ayurvedic medicine is not other regulated in the same ways as the moderns as the modern medicines in India. Ayurvedic medicine focus on the roots and the causes of the diseases and the aims and to the thread and the whole persons, and while moderns and the medicine and focus and on the treatings and the symbols symptoms and of the diseases, and the Ayurvedic the decisions is medicines and is not the regulated in the same ways and as the modern medicines in India, and the in moderns and the medicine and the surgical procedures and are the extensives and the cover other wide ranges of the medicals and the conditions and the treatment, and the Ayurvedas on the other hand and the historicals and had a the more and the limited scopes and for the surgicals and the procedures and the compared and to the modern medicine. With reference to the global and the MPBNs and the assessment, and consider the following statement. It is other comprehensively assessment and of the conversational status and of all the now emphasis and species. Species and to the as per the second and the globals and the amphibians and the assessments report and the micri xylus and the genus and the dancing frogs, and in the Western Ghat is the most and the threatened and frog the genus in India. Global and the amphibian and the assessment is the comprehensive assessment and of the conservation and status of the all noun and the amphibians and the species as per the second global amphibians assessment reports, and the micro and the xylus and the genus dancing folks, and in the Western Ghat and in the most and the threatened and the frog genus in India. The second global amphibians and the assessment and the GAN2 and the report and fund that the whiles and all the emphasis and are the declines and the rates of declines and vary the depending on the species and the reasons, and with references to the comprehensively and the nucleus test ban testing and treaty, and consider the following statement D and none. The CTBT and the prohibits and all the nucleus tests the explosions and the regardless of theirs the id and as of the September and 2023, and out of the 44 annex and second and states and 5 of the APEC annex and the second state and have the sign and but and not the ratified, and the CTBT and including the China's and the Egypt and Iran and the Israel and the United States and the violating and the CTBT has politicals and the repercussions, and but the treaties and the don't and the outlines and the specifics and the economic and the sanctions and the violations and will lead unto the economic and the sanctions, and has not been and the outlines and in any of the articles of the treaty. Question number 3. Which of the following statement is correct? And D and the Gion and the Quechus and the kernels and has been the granted and the geographicals and the indications GI tag. Quechuan was the native and to the northeast and Brazil in the Latin America, and was the introduced to the Goa and by the Portuguese in the 16th century and 1578. The times and offers the introducing on the Indian coast and Quechus, and was known as the mainly as other crops and for the afforestation and the soil and the conservation, and the first and Quechus and forestry in the Goas and started and operation in 1926, and the first and the consagrations of the Quechus and the kernel and was exported in 1913 with reference to the Mera Yuva and Bharat and M by and the Bharat, and consider the following statement and B and only to and the it will and the allow and you will use and you to get and the observe to get and the access and to the resources and the connections and to the opportunities and sections and the correct and the answer and from the quotes and giving below. It is other platforms and for and the youth and development and for the providing the youth and with the access and to the information and the resources and the supported and the youth lead and the development and the project and the initiatives and the buildings the leaderships and skills and the capacities and of the youth and the promotes and social and the cohesions and the harmonies and among youth. My Bharat and bill allow and youth and to get and the access and to the resources and the connections and to the opportunities. And question number 5, consider the following statement. And Gaza is killed and the she. Gaza is killed and the opens and air the prisons and because of the shavers and the restrictions and on the movement and access and to the goods and the services and that has been the imposed and on the stricken by the Israels and the Egypt for many the years and the blockage and has the laid and the widespread and the poverty and the unemployment in the Gazas. Gaza is cold and the open and airs and the prisons and because of the savers and the restrictions and on the movement and the access to good and the service and that have been the imposed and on the strip and by the Israel and the Egypt and for and the many years and the blockage and has led and to the widespread poverty and the unemployment in Goa. Question number 6. With reference to the water meals and consider the following statement. C is only three is correct. It is grow in the salt waters. Water meals and is the world and the smallest and florings and the plant and it is the lake of the roots and steam on the leaves and it is other producers and or the of the oxygens and through the photosynthesis and other rich sources of the proteins and statement and is in the incorrect and water meals and thrive in the quiet and the nutriented and the rich and fresh waters and environment like the ponds lake and the marshes and consider the following statement. Consider the following statement and see and first and third and the nubius and the oxides in the earth and the atmospheres and vary the slowly and the which and makes it is other good choice and for the jewelry and as other hydrogenics and the alternative to the nickels and see third the main sources and of the niobiums and in the is the minerals and the columbites and explanations and nubiums and oxides and in the earth and the atmosphere and vary the slowly and which makes and it is the good choice and for the jewelry and as the hypoallergenic and the alternatives and to the nickels and the main sources of the nubius is the minerals and the columbites and which is the found in the countries and such as the Canadas, Brazil, Australia and the Nigerias. And nubiums and is the good conductor of the electricity. 50. Thank you guys. This session will be closed.